is working. I don't detect any dropped. It appears to be working, and you say something.
Good evening.
Okay.
Uh,
And
okay.
this is the first time for us right now.
Yes.
So we are testing. It does look like we are live. I do
Appears to be
see
working,
and
there
you
we
say
go.
something. Okay, well, I just heard myself
Good
talk, so
evening.
I can't obviously play the live, but I will be following the comments there. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're good. I think we're all set here. Welcome, Don. Welcome, everyone.
Hi, Julien. How are you?
I'm doing pretty awesome. We just started a new stream here. It's not a new show, but we are having so much trouble with YouTube that we thought we'd give Facebook a shot. Since now Facebook Live
You sound like a chipmunk, though. I had the audio on, and you sounded like a chipmunk.
Oh, really? Well,
And
that's
it's
not
moving slowly, but
I
maybe
will.
like
I'll switch over to my headphones.
okay.
Normally, I'm using my headphones anyways. And yeah, I'll change the audio devices here, and hopefully that does the trick. Microphone. Okay. Yeah, it should sound better. But do you want to check the feed again and just see how it looks, how it sounds, and if it's dropping out too much, or what do you think? I know we should have tested this before, but nothing like the present to. No, we don't. We don't want to come off too professional. They might close us down. It's not doing well. Well, let me go ask the girls to check. I think they're still chatting with their friend Alan. They're not actually aware that we're actually live. So you keep the talk going, and I'll go see how they're doing. Okay. It's a great idea. I heard you, but Crystal's computer is not picking me up in audio, so we're gonna have to double check with everyone that the audio is even useful. And they're saying it's a bit buggy, which I can understand. But some feedback would really help right now to understand how it's going. I'm getting that my audio is coming through good. Adele says my audio is coming through well. But Don's was apparently coming through choppy. Don, can you talk? Okay, I guess it is good. I don't know exactly what it took to iron that out, but maybe just some people's feeds are not enjoying a good live experience. The video is choppy, but the audio is more of what I'm concerned about. You know. And, you know, mostly being here was working better, from my opinion, will work better if we can actually interact in a chat forum and basically I can also share it. So I'm going to share it to my private page right now. Okay. I can turn up your audio sensitivity. Actually, we're gonna go off of this. This should work better.
The other one can't hear me. Can hear you fine.
Okay. I think this is gonna sound better.
Okay.
Everybody let me know.
Bada-bump. Good evening. Hello. I heard Don at the beginning, but now not at all. That's Adele.
Okay.
Oh, Raquel now says yes, all good.
Okay.
All is good, isn't it? Isn't everything great?
All is so well.
Yeah.
I'd call it swell.
Everything is swell. Well, you know, there aren't many people that are still comfortable using that word. So that's great. I think we're going to find that the 5D is swell. That was really where swell came from.
Okay.
Passed back to us from 5D. And, yeah. Okay, so Adele says it's working fine. He hears me.
Great. And if Crystal can hear this, I'm not going to go out again, but if you can find my water bottle and bring it over, that would be great too. So let's get into it. I mean, we've gotten through the little hiccups here. I think we got a good enough piece to broadcast for the moment. I think we can go forward.
Okay.
Definitely have to do some more testing before we do our workshop this weekend to make sure that, you know, everything is still, you know, running as smoothly as possible. So did you want to start with some of the things you had to talk about that had come up? Or, I mean, I could talk forever about what's been going on, but maybe you've got some high context points to point out.
Well, no, there are just a couple of things that I was hoping that maybe we could get a little clarification on. One is just kind of a little point because it was something that Ben Fulford brought up in his piece that he wrote that came out yesterday, and I watched the video that he used to support what he was saying, and then I started seeing a lot of other people around Facebook sharing the video with the same information. So I was wondering if maybe we can get a little bit of clarification because it has kind of strong implications for what this fall is going to look like. Anyways, Ben reported and showed a video where at the G20, Barack Obama was giving a press conference. And he was speaking in front of 2 U.S. flags and 2 Chinese flags, and claimed that he was speaking in front of the flags of the U.S. Republic, as opposed to the U.S. corporation, which used the Admiralty flag, which was fringed in gold. And he was using that as a sign to say that the somehow, some way, the handover had been made from the corporate government to the republic, although it hasn't been reported, obviously, in any other manner.
Right. So let's put it another way. Benjamin Fulford sent out an invitation based on his perception and reality. Now, God bless Benjamin Fulford for all his effort. I mean, you really...
You have to.
He is a trooper. He's put a lot of time. I mean, it is his whole life. You can see that through and through everything that he's doing. What I am going to say, however, is that he is just one reality creator. And you are just one reality creator, and I'm just one reality creator. But what we can do as reality creators is offer very grounded reasons for other people to be in our lives and in our worlds. And so let me put this into perspective. The Admiralty concept, if you're familiar with that, you would have a lot more stake by what he said. You'd get a lot more out of it than someone who's like, what does that mean? What is this? America is a business corporation? What is this? So from that point of view, there's a great truth. And, I want to say it's beautiful, because how many times has he gone, and I'm talking outside of the current timeline, how many times has he succeeded in waking people up and creating a change?
Right.
Now, we have lots of side effects in our reality, but how many times has maybe the RV gone through, or Nasara, or whatever he's working on, any of that? As far as we know, that's already happened a million times, and we just haven't chosen that timeline. Okay?
Perfect.
But he's always in contact. He's in contact with that one, and he's in contact with ours that hasn't chosen it. So as a person, for him, and for us, our relationship with him is maybe the more frustrated one, with us not picking exactly what he's saying. Now that happens between any two people anywhere. We actually can fully, viscerally give in to someone else's offers. Someone welcomes you to their home, and you're just like, oh, wow, nice home. This is your... this is where you're grounded, and this is where I'm a newbie,
Right.
And I will explore it per the prerogative that you leave it available for me to explore your home, or whatever you say. Like, I need to take a reading on exactly what you're doing here and what you expect me to be doing here. Same thing is occurring. Now, he has proposed a lot of things, perhaps, that we don't do, that he's proposed that we do as a society, or as a population, or as an individual, and we have not stepped up to that. I want to say, if you did everything that Benjamin Fulford told you to do, you'd be somewhere in one of the stories where everything succeeded exactly how he said it once. Okay?
Okay.
Well, that's kind of a really blunt way of telling everyone how to own your reality. Okay?
Definitely.
And how to accept invitation into others. And that there is no right and wrong reality. You're just on a journey.
Well, we kind of had this talk when we were talking about the flat Earth versus the spherical Earth. Was a very, very similar type of thing. There's multiple stories out there, and you're invited to find evidence to support all the different theories and different ideas, and making up your own mind, and then that's going to move you through then the series of events that are going to support your choices in your own reality.
Yeah. And there is another aspect here, and this is what's the best reality that I want to believe in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because at all times, even though you're choosing other people's realities and listening to other people's words and beliefs and societal beliefs, norms, all that sort of thing, you're still, and in your purpose, still trying to find you in it. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, find where your heart is in there. So maybe that's why Benjamin Fulford's one is not true for you and me today.
Okay.
It's because we haven't found as much of ourselves in his path,
Mm-hmm.
in his journey, in what he's shared and what he's aware of. For you and I, maybe there's just a whole lot more than what he's talking about. Who knows? I have not spent as much time with his direct words to basically sort through it and how I feel all the way. But everyone's welcome to do that. And I do welcome everyone who sees beautiful, grounding, good information. Like the information about the flags. I mean, that is a great tip-off. I mean,
Right.
I'm familiar with it, so I know what that means. To many people, if you don't know what... I mean, many people may be only introduced to Admiralty flags right now, but symbolism is everything that shows up on video that's organized. Symbolism is the parameters for programming the public and for disclosing to the public exactly what the intentions are. There are no mistakes on television. Just like there's no mistakes in real life. Everything has a purpose. Even the weirdness of maybe how your name is spelled. Okay? You might have a weird name, it might be spelled weird. That's all very important. Those are all frequency vibrations. And you say, you know, everybody's named Julien or Dawn or whatever. It's not that special. I said,
Right.
don't cut yourself short of data. You can investigate anything and learn more. Did you have another thing you wanted to share?
Well, this other question has some ramifications just because of this. I mean, there are certain things about what the story is, where the story came from, and the meaning as we move forward. But I don't know if you caught onto the story that this happened, I don't know, maybe a month ago or so, where a college student, member of a fraternity at Florida State University, was caught, had murdered two people, seemed for no reason, and was eating their face off.
Okay, no, I hadn't caught that.
Okay, so it was a situation of cannibalism going on, and the story was all over the place. Anyways, I happened to catch Dr. Phil's show today, and he was interviewing the father.
Yeah.
And so the father's story was that his son, you know, was perfectly normal. But about 2 weeks before the event happened, which the father can't find any logical explanation for.
Okay.
He said he started changing, and he started being more open to seeing what was going on in the world. He started reading, like he started reading Gandhi and Tony Robbins. And everything that he was saying was, he was starting to awaken.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you could see that from our perspective.
From our perspective. Yes, that's how I saw it all from our perspective. And I found that's why I found it kind of an interesting thing to maybe talk about, because as he was awake, and so then Dr. Phil's response to it was, okay, so if in having a total mental delusional breakdown, that he called it religiosity, he called it a few other things, but he was, not talking about the murder and the reasons behind that, but I saw this as still kind of a battle, a duality battle between especially now what's happening as more and more people are waking up. The talk is, at least this afternoon's show, was about mental delusions.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact is that we're going to be seeing more and more people awakening, and I thought this would be something to maybe talk a little bit about.
Okay. I think it's a great conversation. I know we've had it in small ways in the past.
We have. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, delusion is, probably the mother of all fears that people may have, that they are going to sort of fall apart, or people around them that matter to them are going to fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean like fall apart in such a way where, they change so much as a person, but they fall apart in just the ways that you need them to.
Right.
Right? In just the ways that you've been counting on them, just the ways that matters to you. And just the idea that your average person shouldn't be going around in any other people's faces. That, that's a relationship for us too. We're not excited for that, you and I.
No.
To see that sort of experience. I mean, there's an understanding behind why it occurred, and I can explain that, but, it's still only going to go so far. It might take a long explanation for why eating someone's face can ever be seen as a good thing. But indeed, it is clear that this person did follow some very interesting information that guided them into a space that led them to understand that everything was kind of on its head, like upside down. Like,
yes.
One, even the idea of harming other people is on its head. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be the first person to say it. Harming other people is allowed in your reality. In fact, just being insensitive can be considered within the realm of hurting people. But in this way, sometimes, especially at the beginning of a very lightning fast journey of awakening, extremes may need to be observed for the lessons to be settled in very quickly. Okay? So maybe he looks back at eating the face and he says, maybe that wasn't a good idea, on the one hand. And maybe he still thinks it is. The point here is not that anyone is in a right or wrong. We may say, this is very wrong, you can't eat my face, or something. Or you can't kill me and then eat my face. You may say that. But at the same time that you say that, you're also inviting it to happen. So, right. Give it life if that is worth exploring for you. And when I say worth exploring for you, I'm not judging you for what you're choosing, and I'm not judging your mind for having a bias on using predisposed information and beliefs. Okay? But I and Don here are advocates for picking your life. Okay?
Right.
And in picking your life, sometimes you gotta be not afraid of stepping in the wrong direction. You have to be a little bit more courageous in order to find out what you're really made of. And sometimes it's not like, is he made of being a murderer, or is he made to be someone who comes out of being in that position where he can help other people who similarly have been in just as much of a tight spot.
Yeah, and there was another thing that happened this week that kind of touches on that too, which is the transition of Phyllis Schlafly. And
okay,
I don't know
familiar.
if you know.
No, I'm not familiar.
She was very active for her whole life against. She was essentially credited with the not passing the Equal Rights Amendment. She fought against all the gay rights legislation, even though one of her sons is gay. She was really a very conservative and very vocal and very powerful woman in order to be able to have such an impact on those issues in the days that she was doing it. But that was and so of course the announcement of her transition brought out a lot of anger and a lot of really people kind of now voicing their opinion, calling her evil and that sort of thing. But that was exactly where I went with my thinking was, as you and I talk about, every week when we've been doing these shows, that a lot of what we're being asked to do now is live within our truth and share what our truth is, and she did that. She
was a strong advocate for herself.
For herself, it was I wasn't in her head, but I know that she believed what she believed her whole life up until her transition, and that's that's one of those things where as we or let me just put it this way, as I become closer and more comfortable with sharing my truth and discovering what that truth is, and knowing that truth can change in a moment's notice also, and really being open about that also requires me to understand and accept the truth that everyone else is showing of themselves. And even if it's in what may be a limited capacity based on what we believe we were living, I call it living in the panini press, where we just weren't aware of as many options, or we were living with boundaries that we
associated
accepted with. Yeah, we accepted and we associated with, and all of that, but living with she lived her truth, and that was a big understanding for me, a big point for me to kind of have that little discussion with myself.
And she had more of an impact on your life than mine. We'll just say that. Until this point, her name had more impact in your life than she did on mine.
I was aware of her, but I really didn't pay much of attention to her.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say that she had that much of an impact on my life.
Well, my point here is that her passing is also information.
It is, yes.
Like, for instance, maybe she was too fed up with how everything she was losing, and she had to choose a path of happiness that was a lot more happy than the way things were going. Like, you upset yourself to death, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
High blood pressure, who knows?
Right.
And I have to have a certain, I don't say have to have, but this is where I come from now with regards to death and crossing over and transitioning and moving between parallel realities and dimensions, which is all the exact same thing, by the way. Okay? You just sort of get a larger picture. We'll call it the event for yourself.
Right.
And that event gives you a perception that allows you to completely overhaul your life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And some people, that means to others, well, how am I going to explain to everybody how much I just had as an event? Like, how am I going to distill the new person that I'm going to be to everyone? Everyone is counting on me to be the way I was, and therefore my relationship with everyone is based on who I was. And sometimes being who you was, I'm saying that incorrectly.
Who you was
Mm-hmm. is exactly how you find out who you are.
Right.
Because if you do everything to push yourself away, you die. You basically push energy out of your experience.
And this who you are will eventually be who you was.
You can do that. You can actually go to a once upon a time. And she may actually have gone to a world where, guess what? All her dreams came true. There are, gays are now prosecuted and, equal rights. Of course not. It's all, smarter rights or whatever she stood for, And, following her line of logic, she can be in that heaven. They'd say, heaven? Nobody does that in heaven. From what I found out about heaven, heaven is anything. Okay? And it is where you find yourself more.
Isn't that a topic in the workshop this week?
It is a very big, important subject in the workshop. And it's talking about heaven, Cloud 9, and other dimensions. Right. David Wilcock's book just came out. Almost nobody's gotten to read it yet because it's like, in the mail basically at this point. But I suspect he's going to cover most of what I talk about in the workshop. If not, several points of what I go in the workshop will have connecting points. What is the book called? I can't remember. It's not the
Ascension
the Ascension Mysteries. Yeah. So this workshop could be called the Ascension Mysteries, I just realized. Because there's a lot of things.
Oh, I think he's got a copyrighted, probably.
He's probably got a I can't use that. I'll just call it the Ascension Mystery. How about that?
Ah, there you go.
There you go. And we'll just sort of lump it all as if it was all one big mystery, but several things tied up together. So to reiterate, actually, I'll just briefly go over what the workshop goes over. And it goes through 5 major choke points, we'll say, that people face in their ascension path. We'll put it that way, okay? And these are things that have layers and layers of beliefs on them. So maybe you figured out something, and it may be like, oh, like everything's the opposite now, Like, it's like now maybe there's no government, maybe there's just Illuminati running everything. You're like, what? I thought there was such thing as governments and stuff. And then you find out that the Illuminati are trying to do the right thing. And you're like, what? No, you're not. How can you be doing the right thing? And then you're like, no, but you're clearly doing it the wrong way because I wouldn't do it this way. And then they say, well, that's good. We want you to do it your right way, but we don't want you to walk out without a graduation slip. You need to prove it. You need to prove you can create, And previously, in order to prove it meant you had to make a lot of money. You had to fit in our world. But again, doesn't mean that you're sovereign. You're still running under our design.
Exactly.
You have to find your design of reality. You need to find where you're driven within you to make your reality. That's at some of the highest levels of what the Illuminati identify themselves with. Okay? They don't identify with a New World Order. What they identify with is a people that come up with something better than they did. And you'd like to think, hey, they're just going to run the show. They don't want to really run the show. It sounds, here I am. People probably have lots of information, but I can't, I can't lead a horse to water or something like that. Or I can't force you to drink what I'm saying. But in the workshop, we'll go through the unraveling of the onion of these 5 beliefs. And one of them is Illuminati, one of them is dimensions, heaven, and crossing over, which is very important to the event, mind you, and to your personal journey. Like, can you be dead to someone else? Or is everyone coming with you? So, can you take your time? Have you cultivated patience so that you can find the journey where everyone joins you? And in the end, there's no difference. You can go like this, or you could take your time. There is no difference. Because in the end, the result is the same. Just depends on who you are and exactly what guidance you're getting as to your journey. Okay? Now, another conversation that we're going to have is on the discussion of what are people here doing with each other? Like, what do we mean when we've got other people in our lives? What are, like, some of the common terms: twin flames, soulmates, contracted at the hip, family, partners, marriages. We're going to talk about relationships, and we're going to talk about the baseline standard for where you will identify and help you identify where all success comes in those relationships, every single one. A primordial way of understanding the relationship that always yields personal progress. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
In this way, it's a fail-safe. Like, you do not have to ever look at someone else and feel that your freedom is being challenged by someone else. Okay? That is very freeing in your own energy field itself. The same thing is, you'll also find not only freedom, but you'll find a whole new sense of value within yourself when you see exactly what you mean to others. Right? Like, more like building block reasons what you mean to others. And it's very, very simple. And I love how the workshop is going to go, because we're just going to ask a couple questions, and we're going to get into some discussions and some groups, and we'll just sort of share how we do with it. Okay? I mean, the workshop is not as much a discussion as it is exercising your personal part in the discussion. Okay? One of the other things that we're going to talk about are, what are extra-dimensional beings or extraterrestrials? And I put extraterrestrials as anything in your imagination. From Pleiadians to fairies to elves to Garthans to, Venusians. They're all there in a way that we can't easily spend some time with them in their dimension of experience. And, after we've had the conversation about dimensions, talking about them is going to get a whole lot easier. Okay? When we start talking about what realities are made up of and the basic essence of what you can use for yourself to describe, what a reality is actually doing for you when you call it a reality. Like baseline standards.
Bob Wright, who we interviewed on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
He talked about 3 episodes on South Park.
Oh, yeah.
The Imagination Land.
Yeah, Imagination.
So now, I have never seen South Park.
Okay.
Other than passing in commercials, or I've never sat to watch an episode. So I found those 3 episodes, and
I think if you have Hulu, you can watch it, or get a free trial and watch it. Yeah.
That's where I found it was on Hulu. So I saw the first one. I haven't seen the other 2, but I can see where it's kind of going. But it was definitely talking about that, about going into the imagination and everything that humans create through that process.
Yes, we are going to be centering around the imagination a little bit in the workshop, but I guess I'd rather clear it up right now. For the most part, for most people, what your imagination is, it's your 6th sense. Okay, mm-hmm. It is your connection to more than your 5 senses and what you've studied. Okay, it is the same corridor and is the same office space that your mind and ego occupy to talk with you. Okay, but you can find ways to easily step beyond the subjects that your mind propose and listen to more creative mechanisms. And it's very simple. Imagination is going to be creative. Beliefs and all that, they'll be based on existing limitations. Okay, now I'm not saying your creativity and imagination cannot spawn from limitation, but it'll expand your possibilities. Imagination is all about expansion, and ego and subconscious is all about grounding. So you want to identify which thoughts are going through your head? Well, first, you'll note that some are protective in nature, and some are guarding, and some are wanting to ground and wanting you to take action and grounding and protecting and don't do this and don't do that. There's a lot of don'ts in the mind which suggest don't expand, don't try this. And those beliefs are true. So if you do it while thinking those things, you will get in trouble. You will, get your foot caught in a trap or something. So to expand beyond that, we need to spend more time believing in our deepest thoughts. And, most of our lives we've been seeking our inner creativity through various means. And we have various ways where we've found to make it work. Maybe some of us are artists, some of us storytell, some of us, sing music, and some people listen to music. Just even listening to music is creative too. By inviting what creative music may show up in front of you, okay? All 5 of your senses have ways of displaying creativity. And, I always suggest people to find out what drives people into excitement. No, these are all excitement. You don't listen to music to get all depressed about your life. Well, maybe some people do, but some people, they can find music to be there in a moment of comfort, or they can be there in a moment of validation. Look towards the music, if you're using music, towards an area that you feel that you're expanding your mind. Okay? When your mind expands, there's more room for imagination in there. There's more room for possibilities in there. Okay? When you follow your heart, you'll find that you face your own fears in those journeys, and your ability to surpass your fears, or work with your fears, or acknowledge your fears and let them go, or truly come to a new level of understanding why your fears were there, studying and inciting. But most of these experiences of expansion are going to come from a lighter state of being, a lighter state of mind. That's why they call it higher frequency. Okay? It's going to come from more of a relaxed state of living, a more easy way of feeling about life. And it's easier to feel about life if it's good versus it's taking me down, So just follow that parameter, and soon you will know more and more about what's going on in your thoughts and your feelings that is truer about you. And imagination is just a medium within you to access what you want. And if it's expansion in nature, make sure you're clear about that. Expansion in its own nature is not originally grounded. So of course you'd say, I want a car, and you have no idea what the car is going to be like. And if you start thinking about it, I need a car that isn't a stick shift if I drive a manual, or if I drive an automatic, it can't be a manual. So, you can put a couple constraints on there. That's fine. But if you believe that all cars are manual now and you can't get an automatic, or maybe you want only like a Ferrari, but they don't make automatic Ferraris as far as you know, then you want to keep that out of your invitation and out of your focus.
Well, yeah, expansion by itself is moving into new territory that you haven't experienced before, and you are the grounding mechanism for that.
Yeah, and expansion can be exciting or it can be fearful. I'm aware of that.
Of course, it can.
But no matter which way it is, fearful is usually letting you know that you have a lot of resistance going into this, right? Expansion, when it's not fearful, is letting you know that there's high good probabilities within this journey, right? Now, some people go into the optimism scale and they get very, very, very excited in ways that are optimistic and all that sort of thing. But there is a phase where you'll want to ground it. You'll still want to associate with some progress.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say that spiritual progress almost requires proof for yourself. But you need to commit to some degree to say you're going to be aware of what's going on out there. Because the proof is in every moment of your life, in a way of speaking. There's evidence everywhere. So imagination will evolve. It has gone through that journey for me, and it's still evolving. My ability to talk with guides sometimes, talk with spirits sometimes, talk with people's higher being. These all occur as it suits, based on the invitation from me that it may take place, and based on the invitation by the other. If the other comes to me with a doubt, or comes to me with a test, well, then we'll play out a game of a test. We won't play out a game of talking with our guides. We'll play out testing, right?
Right.
So that's what's invited. So in many ways, my intention stays clear. I wish this from the interaction in a session. I wish this interaction from everyone. And that's basically what I choose now. I choose more and more today to be more clear about the basic substructure of what I wish my relationships to flourish in and how they will flourish. And all that has to do is very simple, is that both myself and others will be aware of excitement within the experience. Because excitement is basically saying, well, you can go into the unknown in a dark, scary place. Or you can go into the unknown and, wow, that sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. Why not invite that experience? Right?
Yes.
And I would say, when I'm in a session with someone, it's me. I almost have nothing to contribute to what comes forward. I love meeting people because they have so much juiciness that comes out of their field to present. And I feel that in our near future, this is how people will relate to each other. You'll be like, oh, your life's so juicy. Kind of like if you were to go hang out with a celebrity. Be like, oh, tell me about your life. But then, it'll wear thin maybe. And, you move on. You'll be like, oh, that was great. See you next year at the potluck or something. Whatever it's got to be.
Okay.
So, let's get back to the parts of the workshop that we're going to be covering. We are going to talk about the Illuminati and how they did what they did. Because how they did what they did is more important than what they're doing now, to be clear. Now, I'm not saying we're going to go over the history of how they manipulate everything. I'm going to talk about, the real how. And that gets into things like black magic, the way they know it, or occult magic, or, magic that many people consider you don't do that kind of magic. But we'll talk about it at a foundational level and get to understand more and more why they were able to do it at a once upon a time situation, and what we can do with the understandings that they have well practiced. Now, I'm not going to suggest we're going to get into some, blood drinking cult here, but we will at least understand why they did, and we can make decisions that we feel a lot better and use the same tools that they did in our own personal way, right? We don't have to follow anybody's guidance. And that's what we'll get into, which is basically discovering your magic. So that, I think, is going to be really profound and helpful and an awakening for people in such a way that they can begin to live their path much more viscerally. I mean, this time right here to the end of the year, this is the kingdom come, okay? Your kingdom is coming. Your kingdom is coming. It's knocking on the door. It's damn near bashing down your life to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So why not get out of resistance for what you're prepared for. And whatever you've prepared, you didn't want it, I'm going to say it might be too late to change it. You're going to get your heaven, and you could take some time next year to sort of chisel it down and work it out, knowing how reality pans out a bit better. Because you will see your creation firsthand. Everybody will be able to write, in January 1st, what I did to make things weird the last 3 months. You'll be able to tell a story like, these things happen, and there's all about what I was talking about and what I was telling people about and what I was writing about. It all came true. Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Right? The good news and the bad news. The good news and the bad news. So if there's some bad news, you're like, whoa, whoa, wait, this all happened because of me? You'll see it. You're like, oh, well, this next year, 2017, you'll get to sort of play in a bit more of a classroom that will feel voluntary rather than involuntary. And, this is a process that the whole world is going through. I'm not talking about you and me, Don. I mean, everybody's going to get their version of this. And elements like the event is going to come for a lot of people. A lot of people are going to have their event. They're already having their event. For some people, I'm going to tell you, the event means they died. Okay? To you, if they died in your world, they had their event. They had what they needed to catalyze the movement to another dimensional experience. But I am going to be clear. Dying is far from required. The only death is the death of a non-functioning ego. Okay? I mean, Eckhart Tolle told us this way back. He went through a death of the ego and didn't die. He was suicidal. I mean, he had a really crummy story to tell. No one wants to retrace his steps.
No, Neil Donald Walsh was the same.
Yeah, Dark Night of the Soul is a version of it. But you can do a soft version of that. Okay? You're always disclosing to yourself your own journey. Find it in yourself. Love yourself, really. Because everything is actually bound together by love. Which is basically appropriateness for the sake of expansion and possibility. That's love in a nutshell. So the more that you contain this love, unabashed, unbiased, you will find yourself easily being in harmony with everything that's going around you. It's like, just start loving things that you might not have given as much love to before. You'll see how it changes. Like, just say you can love your pet more than you already do. And, maybe that's not the case with some pet owners, but maybe for some it is. You start loving your pet more. What catalysts can come of that? Well, many catalysts can come of that. You may find yourself more able to intuit when people are talking with you. Like you've actually developed a higher level of empathy as a result. Can happen, right? You can actually hear people better because when you talk with your animal, you're building the tools for sensitivity of insight with their actions and the subtleties of their movements, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got the council telling me over and over to get a dog, and I keep resisting that. But they say, if to be able to intuit and have connections, they say, the easiest way is to get a dog. And it's not for everybody. I'm going to be clear. No.
I do believe in that, and I do like how the council shared that and sort of educated us on that. Mm-hmm. But that's just a paradigm that serves. Love anything, okay? You can love your ballpoint pen. It doesn't matter. You're going to find that things with fewer overall values, they have a short-lived expansion period, right? So loving things that are more conscious have a lot more potential in the discovery of loving and expansion. Because remember, love exists because there's expansion. Now, you can love something But if there's no potential latent within it for what that can surface in a timeline, then trust me, love is difficult in those circumstances. Okay? So
Right.
love, that the concept of universal love, unbiased love, unlimited, unfeathered love, those are ways to practice the various forms of love that you can expand and explore in our very near future. So, and love is basically a high frequency. We're really just talking about a high frequency level of awareness. And you may love things that you even hate. And I know that appears paradoxical, but focusing on the love will circumvent many of the problems if you become more and more universal in it. The more cut and dry your love is, the more something can be cut and dry used to push your love and use it as a manipulative tactic. Okay? I am aware that love and that energy is used to pull people's strings, right, between people. You love this car, don't you? You're going to buy this car. You can't leave me. We've been together for 10 years. I'm going to miss you. You're going to be gone all summer. Please miss me too. All these things that attempt to put maybe a shackle on love, they're your own shackles. I mean, you can put limits on love, but they're only going to be seen in the reflection of your own life. And people call this karma, right? When you see the reflection of what limit you put on love, it comes back to you. You get the mirror. You get the experience of your own limitation of love coming in your direction. So love has no limits. And the more that you're able to follow love, you will find the idea that things want to limit the love, like beliefs and everything. Like maybe, let's just say it's, in your country, you kiss everybody on both cheeks. But in some places, that's not cool. You stick with that. And you don't see if people just brighten up and maybe actually take that home with them and start seeing and transforming the world in their own way by kissing people on two cheeks. So you will find more and more that love paradoxically or paradigm shifts your reality. And, it's nice for me to say love, I know people know that I associate with Pleiadians and they're kind of like space hippies. But in the longer term, we're really talking about identifying with high vibration. And so love as a high vibration or higher frequency vibration is an identification with possibility that stands in expansion, as in many possibilities that may yet come to be as grounded. There is no reason for it ever to become realized in any way, then you're getting into extreme levels of universal love, which is fine. It just means you're ready to literally look at everyone as yourself. But
Right.
along the way there, practicing love will eventually get you there. I don't know what else to say. It puts you in that place, and it's not even necessary. Like you can play with not as much or even less than you have now. But note that people are creating their worlds now, and the most common denominator is their vibration, which is also basically how much love they practice. Okay? You know how children can be very loving, right?
Yes.
They just have a bit more of an unabashed way of just hugging you and stuff, in the way that adults don't typically practice. That's necessary to have a world. You have to have a wallet of cash of love that you believe in yourself is of value within yourself to share. It's like if you don't have something to share or to bring forward or to bring as a raising of frequency, then you won't be surprised when you get somewhere and you realize, oh, everything came true, including all my worst fears. Fantastic. And all my greatest loves came true too.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe some of your greatest loves you kept away, and so you watch somebody else live next door to you, your greatest love, and you just, I kept myself that far away from it. It's like you want a nice shiny Ferrari, all your neighbors get one except for you. Like, what happened? Was it lotto? What did I miss? That may be happening. Okay? And, this is a long-winded conversation on love, but it is really, cutting to brass tacks on higher frequency, and higher frequency is a higher wisdom encoded environment, which means you don't have to try so hard. That means wisdom is encoded in your actions. Just by seeking the expanded experience, things become expanded, and you really don't actually have to try as much because you have so many choices. If anything, your life becomes a problem of, out of the 10 best things I could do today, goodness, how am I going to pick?
Yeah, multitude of riches.
A multitude of riches.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll get to that point when we do. And we'll talk about time management and what time really is. And how, I've talked about time, real briefly I'll talk about time. I've talked about time as a space. If you think of time as like a bag, okay? The larger the bag, the larger the span of time you can hold in there. And it's a container space. It's like the zero, okay? It's a portal space. And it holds that for you and releases you from that when it's time. You have to excuse me.
Was that a joke? Time releases you when it's time?
No, I have to excuse me. I do need to run to the washroom. I'll be right back.
Okay, enjoy. Okay. Let me reinforce, if you've got any questions, go ahead and type them into Facebook, and we'll get Julien to consider them. Is everybody following what he's talking about? And I know there have also been questions about the feed, and I'm not really sure how this is working. This is our first time with it. But all the other Facebook Lives that I've ever seen, it stays there, the recording stays there, and you'll be able to pull it up, and hopefully it'll be well documented. And if you can, join us this weekend for the workshop. This is sounding like it's going to be amazing. And if you can't join us this weekend, get the recordings. They're going to, I believe they're going to offer as much opportunity for growth as the actual workshop itself. Thomas says it works great on his phone, wasn't that great on his computer? Good. We'll have to see, because we were just, it was so frustrating the last two times with YouTube trying to get things going the way we had been doing them, and because it's the opposite for him. All you Welleses. Julien stepped out for a second. He'll be right back. So, Yeah, it's. I mean, my computer has been playing it, but the video has been very choppy. I'm listening to Julien on Skype though, so I'm not really sure uh, what is going out there live on Facebook. We unfortunately we got a late start anyway. Yeah, he's. So we didn't get a chance to test this out. We're kind of testing it live. But then again, we've learned through this whole process is like, let's just get doing the show, and what goes out there, because that's what's really important anyways. The format, we keep trying to find the better format for this, and okay, so we've got several people saying it's working good on their phone. And again, let me stress again, if you have questions about this weekend's workshop or some of the other things that we've been talking about tonight, please feel free to just put them in the chat area, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. Yes, we will post a link to the workshop, but you can go to julienwells.com/workshop. If I'm correct, Crystal, I think that's what it is. Or even if you just go to julienwells.com and there's a spot on the on his homepage to go there, and I'll have all the details for the workshop this weekend.
Okay. All right. So the other announcement I guess I wanted to make besides the workshop is I am going to be probably at the end of this month raising the rates on sessions, just to sort of cut down on the frequency of them for me, and to just sort of reorganize priorities for me and for the people that have been booking sessions. But I want to say that anybody who has booked a session in the last year will be able to keep those rates until the end of the year. So if you've never booked a session with me, the best time would be this month, September, and as long as you book it during September, the time of the appointment can be any time. Like, I allow for bookings to be done 3 months out. And in that way, if you feel that you want to have, maybe further bookings the rest of the year, you'll have that, locked in current rate. Also note that I'm not doing public sessions at this time. I did, and I was putting up quite a lot of them. I think they're all really wonderful when you go out there and check them out on my YouTube channel. And I still have several to put up that haven't been put up yet. But we're going to be moving into a bit more of a forum of more free information, and maybe more situations where, if someone wants to have a chat with me, and it's personal or something like that, we can maybe share that, as we go. Most of everything that I do, I want to have recorded and available to the public, except for the very private sessions. So in that way, those rates are going to affect sort of like the change. I'm probably going to be doing multiple workshops going forward. I don't know how often they're going to be. At the moment, my only plan is this one this weekend. I don't have other plans. This one, I didn't even know was going to happen, but I got the message. I got the downloads. I figured out, and it comes down to this is what I got to do. And it may be a more preferred method for getting out information in the future about, practicing some stuff. I think the shows and the interviews are valid in their own right with whatever content comes up. I never hold myself back in these. I'm not like...
No.
Nothing in my workshop is going to be super unheard of, but it's going to be material that we're really going to deciduate and help people really sort of knit together this this new fabric beyond limitations, beyond what would hold people back in their ascension path. I mean, there's other things that hold people back on their ascension path, like health and all these things like that. I'm not talking about that this time, okay? I'm talking about extra dimensionals, ETs, Illuminati, black magic, heaven, dimensions, transitioning, life, death. I mean, these are some big subjects. Relationships, like very fundamental level of relationships in ways that probably haven't ever explored them before. I assure you, it's probably in ways most people have not explored before. And this is a 10-hour total event. It's going to really saturate. And yes, the recordings are going to be made available to be purchased. There's 5 2-hour pieces. They'll be available to be purchased for $20, and you'll get access to the link. The hidden link, the link that gives you access to it that everyone else can see, who's already signed up for the workshop. But will I release those publicly? I don't know. I think they may serve as tools for people that have another level of personal interest in taking a very personal journey with them. And so they may go public one day, they may not. They may actually become obsolete. Who knows? With what comes forward later this year or what have you. But I do know that its timing is very important. So I didn't pick with only 2 weeks to get people to sign up because of anything besides, oh, holy crap, I'm behind the ball on this has to happen at this time. It's going to be a very catalyzing weekend. This is a catalyzing week for many people. It happens to be right after my birthday. I didn't plan that. I normally don't even think about my birthday. I think about my birthday maybe a week. You're like, oh, it's my birthday a week from now. That's usually when I think of my birthday. Only to find out that today's kind of like a 777, depending on how you look at it. I mean, I look at September as, sept. I learned French, and sept means, in French, 7.
Mm-hmm.
Today's the 7th. And if you look at 2016 in numerology, you get a 9. But the 16, it's not a 9, it's a 7. So I've kind of got triple sevens today. I'm betting on today and what I'm going through today. Got my lucky 7s on this. I am going to wrap this up here, unless you had something else to bring up, Dawn, specifically.
No, but we do have a question.
Okay.
That maybe you can do a little bit of explaining a little bit more about timelines and the merging of timelines. Okay,
so imagine you're a particle of dust floating through the universe. That's you. Yeah, you can't really tell where you are most of the time. Like your juxtaposition relative to a lot of things, it's really difficult to see if you're making progress or if you're even on a journey sometimes. So what you do is you create tools that help you identify time. And to identify with time is to identify with a space. I know I didn't quite get to finish that, so this is a good point to continue to round out. So space is how you understand where you are relatively. right? So if you're on like a chessboard, knowing what space you're in kind of affects what move you're going to do next, right? Like what pieces are in what spot. I mean, context. Given context of space can also be given context of timing. Like, is this the right time? Soon enough, many people will identify with time is never against you. Only you can be against time, which is your own definition of space. Which is another way of saying, if you don't have enough time in your life, then you have a relationship with time that's distorted. Okay? Which means that if you never have enough time for things, you're supposed to probably be going slower. Okay? You're probably supposed to take things a little easier. And if you have too much time and you're bored and you don't know what you're doing and it's just time flies and nothing seems to happen, maybe you're ready to start filling in the chessboard with your choices and your dedicated interests. I'm not saying that's what you have to do. You can play half full, half empty cup all day long with whatever matters to you. But time as a construct is nothing but an observation of vibration. So we observe vibration or frequency. We use time to indicate how many times did that go around. It's like counting. Oh, that went through 9 times compared to this one went through 6 times in the same bucket. And so you've got a frequency of 6 and a frequency of 9 measured within the bucket of this. And so you give a different identification with the 9 over the 6 when in this increment. Just like on the chessboard, okay? Time is all the squares, but you use the squares because you have different pieces there. Different pieces that do different things. It's nice to be able to identify one from the other. So we have different vibrations taking place in the different spaces. But time is never against nor with you. It is always a product for your sake of observation and your mind's ability to make deductive reasoning. Okay? Which is just logic. It is to help you serve in ways of logic. So as you move into higher frequency experiences, higher frequency knowledge, all this sort of thing, it's not surprising that time starts to get a little niggly, weird. And you start talking about timelines. As in, there's more than just this chessboard going on. There's Don's chessboard. There's the chessboard around the other side of the world. So when you face timelines is really nothing other than talking about other dimensions of experience. So a dimension of experience is a way of analyzing information. A way of analyzing information. And if you're not practiced with that way of analyzing information, that dimension is not so useful to you. Just like you can't analyze the information of what's going to happen 21 days from me right now if I stub my toe. Okay? You'd be like, I can't analyze that information. I can't analyze that dimension so well. There'll be a point where when you find a way to relax and develop patience, you can journey into your timelines with wisdom guiding you and let you know how things will go rather than you have to do it. Our imaginations do this to varying degrees, but we also commit our imaginations to the asylum and say it doesn't mean anything, right? And as a result, guess what? Our imagination is not very strong. It does not yield a lot of visceralness. But you will know, anyone who's ever put their heart into something, that's worked. They've always gotten there. Anyone that's put their heart into something and it hasn't worked, they've learned why they were not on the ball with what they were actually asking for their heart. They're probably asking not for expansion, but protection. You can always expand as long as you identify as love. As soon as you don't identify as love, it's protection, which is a belief, a vibration that's continuous within you, and you want to find ways to step out of that. We will talk about that in the workshop. As time applies to all 5 of the parameters, it'll probably be one of the last talking points, so that literal effective space can be given to the new way that you have come to your conclusions about things. Okay, which means you can breed change within yourself and your reality by giving attention in the way that your heart has a lot more energy for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, what I'm going to talk about in the Illuminati, heaven, all these things, I'm not saying I'm right. Absolutely, I'm not saying I'm right. For others. But am I right for me? It is right for me. So those who have things in common with me and have been following me this far, I'm sure they'll get a lot out of it. They'll probably see a lot in common with them too. That's why I'm not, selling tickets on eBay or something or StubHub. It's not that kind of thing. If I do one day get to workshops with, thousands of people, well, I'll probably consider the people coming to this workshop, the people at the core of, seeing things and enjoying life and vibration and exploration of concepts similar to the way I do. Anyhow, that being said, and yes, time is a wonderful enigma to unravel. It'll make more sense when we have more context to sort of like talk about application of time and just sort of how it, how it's both wiggly and a soft element. It's as soft as your belief. So, honestly, that's the greater reason for talking about these 5 major aspects, is that it will unlock vast potentials within you that you haven't necessarily practiced before. I'm not saying you haven't, but you may find more enrichment on a first-hand experience, and we'll have a conversation about it that will, there'll be plenty of space for feedback and talking. I expect conversations to take place, during and after, the workshop segments. So, join us if this is your kind of thing. And, or maybe you just, wait for the recordings and, see if it's 5-starred by everyone or something. I don't know. But, are you missing out? I'm not going to say that. I'm saying, follow your heart in this. I cannot tell you that this is for you or not, but I can say this is more, this is deeper into where I come from than I've ever experienced myself before these last 2 weeks. So it really is kind of like a heavy-duty, intensive experience to get into.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope you're ready, Don. Hope that didn't spook you.
Well, no. But I've observed just how different you've been the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And so I want a little bit of that. So
Cool.
So definitely, I'm looking forward to doing this.
Yes. And I am so honored that you're going to be doing it with me and helping me run this. If you don't already know, everyone, Don's going to be sort of he is our master of ceremonies, and kind of running the stages that are going to be taking place. And so just to sort of like keep things for me so that I'm in a very focused place with my words, so we make the most efficient use of time so that I'm not so rambly as I can get. But yeah, we're gonna have a ball, and there's still slots open. It's a maximum of 30 people that can join, and we still have some spaces open. We did meet our minimums, I believe, in terms of minimum people I was looking to have attend, and the recording should be up, probably at the beginning of next week. So something like that. Hopefully before next Wednesday's show. Because I think, there may be conversations to have next weekend that have something to do with, the energy of the weekend and, what we went through and stuff. But anyways, thank you everyone for the birthday wishes today. I've been getting my phone, buzzing all day. I had to kill the notifications because it was killing the battery. I was just like, goodness, so many people want to wish me happy birthday. It's wonderful. Thank you, everyone, if I don't get back to you. And thank you, Don, for being here today for today's show and being patient with the logistics.
No problem, and happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to get back to my birthday celebrations and
Thanks, everybody.
some good food and some good family time. And I wish you all the best through this very powerful weekend. The next 2 weekends are both very powerful, but really, I'm not saying, come to the workshop, but what I am saying is really, juice this one. Like, there's a lot of juice to get out of this weekend. And however you experience it, let it be guidance. Like, just say this weekend is just a roadmap of guidance for me. Because it is going to act that way.
And just so we get this out there will not be an interview show Saturday night.
That's correct.
Because we're doing the workshop. We will be back the following Saturday with Bob Wright. So...
Great. And to book on the workshop, I just realized you want to go to julianwells.com/workshop, and you'll find links there. It basically takes you to my booking site, and you book for a Friday session that says it's only 2 hours, but you're in it for the whole weekend. I don't really have a way that does it properly, but it still, gets the money exchanged and gets your email to me and that sort of thing. On Friday or Thursday evening, I will begin sending out the links that everyone will need to the emails that were registered in the sign-up. So I think that's it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. And, enjoy this September. It's going to be intense and beautiful. That's all I can really say.